Hey everyone, Soundly here with Planarwalk. Thanks for joining us. So I've started a new thing with this bulletin board, and I will be adding a new item for each person that I interview. Planarwalk, you are the first. I'm going to add yours now. Boom.
Woohoo!
1,000 subscriber button. I should have had that a long time ago. Can't believe that YouTube didn't send it to me. But I appreciate you giving me a copy of yours. I guess that's the best thing about it being on paper, right?
Yeah.
So, thanks for joining me, man. Let's just get right into it. Who are you? Who is the Planarwalk? Tell us about yourself. What motivates you to debunk flat earthers and other conspiracy-minded people?
Okay, so I'd say my main motivation is is it okay if I swear? Just making sure.
If that's who you are, do who you are, man.
Okay. I've just never really liked bullshit. You know, when someone is bullshitting someone else, I just have always disliked it. So that's the main reason why I've done it. And so yeah, when it comes to flat Earth, that's like the biggest load that you could possibly find, I think. And it's surprising that there are actually people who believe in it.
Well, I mean, I would say there's probably one that's a little bit more extreme. That would be the lizard people. You know, the people that believe that the Queen of England is actually a lizard person might be a little bit more extreme than flat Earth, but not by much.
Yeah, well, the thing is with lizard people, it's a little more unfalsifiable because, you know, they could have magical technology that disguises them.
Right.
Whereas with flat Earth, there is really no excuse because you can prove that it is round, that the Earth is round. So I don't think there's any excuse for.
So what made you? Okay, so obviously you have this motivation because you're irritated. But what was the moment when you're like, you know what, I'm going to go start debunking these guys?
I wouldn't actually be able to point to a particular moment because I've always liked debating people. So, and when it comes to flat Earth, there was one person who I was in a class with, and this was second year of a Bachelor of IT, and there was one person that was watching these flat Earth videos, and no one thought that it was being serious. And so I decided, okay, what's this channel? And he said, oh, this is Globe Skeptic or something was the name of the channel. So I searched it up thinking that it was just going to be a good laugh, and it surprised me to actually find out that these guys were all serious, that there were actually people who believed the Earth was flat. And so after that, I decided I should probably do something on YouTube about flat Earth, because it might be gaining popularity or something, and I don't like that there's this sort of thing that shouldn't really be in today's culture, which is, you know, gaining a lot of popularity, and a lot of people are being influenced by it. And so I decided, you know, I'll go and debunk it, see what happens.
Yeah, that's a similar background as me, I guess. I was just so amazed that people were actually online conning other people. You know, it's one thing for someone to believe it. It's another thing for someone to promote it, and that's the thing that irritated me, was the people that were promoting it. So when you decided, okay, I'm going to start debunking these guys, did you run this by your family? Like, were they like, what are you doing?
Well, at that point, I already had I was already doing gaming videos on YouTube, and so I can't really remember when I decided to start getting into the flat Earth stuff, but I had run it by this guy like a year before I actually put anything out to do with flat Earth, and he thought it was a good idea to do that because he was just finding out about flat Earth at the same time too. And he said, yeah, go for it. At this point, though, he's like, you know, flat Earth is boring now.
Yeah. So what does mom and dad and girlfriend think? Or
I think my mum and dad are probably a little bit worried, but at the same time, they're glad that I'm doing doing well.
at the same time, they're glad you're on this side of the fence and not the other side.
I don't
Not
know.
on the flat Earth side. You don't know. You don't tell them. This is something we don't talk about during Thanksgiving, right?
They're like, I think their sort of mindset about it is, you're crazy enough without talking about flat Earth stuff. So
You don't bring your tinfoil hat to Thanksgiving, do you?
no, I don't. My mum actually, like, there's one time she was around there when I had just finished making this, and she asked, "What is that?" And I said, "It's okay. It's for the memes."
Yeah, I'm probably in the middle, in between your parents and yourself, probably. I get the memes. I do. I get the memes, and my daughter is like, she's like 100% memes, so it's hilarious. So
speaking of memes, I got a pop filter.
yes, I noticed that you got a pop filter. Yeah, once or twice.
Well, that will be the third time you've noticed.
Yes, I need a pop filter. I actually hilariously in one of my videos used a dryer lint thing or whatever. What are they called? The dryer, the little dryer sheets that like the static cling sheets or whatever. I used one of those as a pop filter. It's like just joking around. I was doing my movie voice.
I actually used a handkerchief as a pop filter at one point.
It does work. The pop filter's nicer though. I mean, obviously.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so tell me about these little trinkets that you have behind you. Explain these to me. Explain these to my subscribers who have never seen your channel yet. But everybody is going to go subscribe right now?
Oh, that would be really nice. I actually wonder how many subscribers I've got right now.
We probably have about 2,000 in common, I think.
So this is something that I actually bought from a friend of mine. And on here I've got this little Black Mage keychain. And so yeah, this is a chocobo. And it's because I'm a huge Final Fantasy nerd. Tinfoil hat, I decided to make one because of the amount of... It was when I was going and talking about Agenda 21 that I decided to make one of these. So, yeah, that's that one. Then there's the 1,000 subscriber play button.
That to me is your favorite item, which is why I asked you for it on my bulletin board. So I really appreciate you giving me that, man. I feel like I've made something of myself and my channel now that I have my 1,000 subscriber button.
Yeah. And the last one actually probably has the most significance to the channel, and that is these. Just gonna sort them out because they like to fall apart, especially when we have big wins here. So these things, flight charts.
Yes.
And yeah, I don't think that there's any surprises why I decided to get these.
No, not at all. Would you like to tell my subs about it real quick?
So there was a challenge that Flat Art Hero offered for $100,000, and I decided to sort of do something to support MC Toon. In the end, at one point I was like, maybe I should try and submit this to try and see if I can get the $100,000. Unfortunately, because it was so big and I didn't have the PVC piping, I think it was, that MC Toon had, it just fell apart. But you could tell that these things here, if you piece them together, they're meant to make a globe.
Yes.
So
that's actually a very interesting side note. I mean, obviously we're talking about Wolfie and Flat Out Hero.
Yep.
So my question for you is, do you think Wolfie will ever get his 100 grand?
I think that there's a bigger chance of MC Toon getting a payout than Wolfie, but to be fair, he did donate, and I haven't seen the full video. I've seen a video which had, I think it was 2 checks with $3,000 written on them. And, some people will say, oh, he didn't actually cash those checks in or something, but I'd like to give him the benefit of the doubt,
Wait a minute, I missed this. Who did this? Flat Out Hero did something with $3,000?
Yeah, so from what I can tell, he donated $6,000 to 2 different charities.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what motivated him to do that?
To honor MC Toon's submission, because honestly, from the get-go, I was going, you got this, MC Toon. But, I think Wolfie got most of the popularity out of it.
Yeah. I mean, Wolfie definitely got some subs from it, that's for sure.
Yeah. And MC Toon even got quite a few subscribers and views from it. Because at one point, Wolfie even mirrored one of his videos.
I think I saw that one, actually.
What actually surprises me, though, is the fact that there's so many articles that mention Wolfie 6020, but don't mention MC Toon. I've seen articles, I've seen videos, and I'm just thinking, you've missed. You didn't talk about MC Toon. I suppose the saying's true. The winners are those who write history.
Yes. Well, it's interesting. I mean, it's actually a weird dynamic, isn't it? I mean, we were talking about this beforehand. There's a lot of people that we are, I guess, directly related to as far as YouTube goes. Like, we're one step away, or we communicate with these people regularly. These people mention our channels and stuff like that. But you don't really see the trickle down, from their subs. It's an interesting dynamic, and it's something that it'd be fun to understand, like, what actually motivates somebody to sub, because it's kind of hard to figure out sometimes. Anyway, back to you, because we're here to interview you.
Yeah.
And so my question for you is, what is the future of your channel? Are you going to stick with Flat Earth, or are you planning on branching out into more of the other conspiracies? And I believe, our personal conversation that we've had was kind of on a political leaning. And so my question is, do you see yourself going that direction and talking about those type of things? Or are you still figuring that out? Or what's up with that?
Well, I don't mind dipping into politics every now and then. But the place that I want to kind of stay away from, at least for the time being, is the whole SJW, anti-SJW area. But then there's things that just aggravate me, especially when both sides are wrong. And so I might end up touching on that, but I don't want to go full blast into that, because that is one deep rabbit hole.
Right. It's interesting. It's interesting that you brought that up. That both sides are wrong. Can you kind of elaborate on that a little bit?
Well, when it comes to, it's not so. I think that it's not so much that both sides are wrong. It's more of that both sides misunderstand each other, and so if you look at the argument one way, you'll think, oh, this side is right and the other side is wrong. But if you look at it from the other side's perspective, you'll actually say, oh, this side is right and the other side is wrong. And the clearest example would have to be the whole gender thing, because yes, gender is on a spectrum. And no, there are not 158 different genders. There are 2 genders, and you are somewhere between those 2 genders. And no, gender is not the same thing as sex. Gender has a different meaning, and it's particularly pertaining to cultural aspects rather than biological ones. So
Yeah, I don't know what I think about that actually. But we don't have to go there because you just said you don't want to talk about that stuff.
yeah.
So, but okay, so you're going to avoid the SJW stuff, but what about other topics? Are you going to go into some other topics, or what's your idea?
Well, one topic that I am looking at going into sometime soon is to do with UBI, because I honestly think that universal basic income is a good idea, but then there's a problem which I'm actually seeing in my own country, and that problem is that we're raising the minimum wage. Now, the way that I see it is if you raise the minimum wage, UBI is kind of one of those things that you shouldn't implement. But at the same time, there's a whole lot of things. Because if you raise the minimum wage too high, you've got smaller businesses which can't compete with larger corporations. And so I think that UBI is probably the better solution. But then again, UBI is also the more difficult solution to implement. And whereas raising the minimum wage is pretty easy. So there's a whole lot of problems around that.
Yeah, I've had actually I've had some personal experience with the minimum wage issue, and I'm personally opposed to raising minimum wage as a government-driven thing. I think that government could do better in expanding the market to cover larger areas. A good example is my state right now. There's a lot of pressure on companies in my state to pay more to like IT professionals, because IT professionals aren't limited by a physical location generally. They can work remotely, right? So I think the promotion of like government promoting training into these types of professions where you can work for somebody in another country even, I think is a better approach and a better use of the social aspects of government than raising the minimum wage. And for the exact reason that raising minimum wage does put pressure on smaller businesses and forces them out of business. There's a lot of smaller businesses that get forced out of business because they can't pay $15 an hour, which is what they're suggesting in California right now, you know.
Yeah, in New Zealand, the minimum wage is already $15 an hour. This is 15 New Zealand dollars, but it's going up. I think they're trying to raise it to 21 New Zealand dollars or something like that.
Yeah.
And I get how it can be good for some individuals, but at the same time, for startup businesses, it's probably not the best solution. And I think that the better solution would be to implement something like universal basic income. Therefore, you don't have to raise the minimum wage as much.
Do you think that having a universal basic income introduces other problems? Because the problem that I foresee in that case is that there will be some people that just won't be motivated to work if they feel comfortable at that income. They won't better themselves, and they'll kind of be a drain on our system instead.
I think that for some people it will actually motivate. It'll motivate people to work, because the way that I see it, for some people they'd much rather, because in New Zealand we've got social welfare, right? And so when people go on the dole, a lot of them don't want to work because you don't get much more by working. So if they were to get a lot more from working, because currently if you are in a family situation, or well, just say you're married and neither of you have a job, right? And so you're both on the dole, and then one of you gets a job, then the amount that you're getting is only about $30 more than you would have received when on a benefit. And $30 isn't much.
Right.
Sure, it can give you a little bit more, but it's not a whole lot more. And so for a lot of people, it doesn't feel like it's worth it. Whereas if you've got at least some sort of universal basic income, there'll be people that will go out and feel like they're making more by working, or making a significant amount more by working.
So would you say everybody gets? So for the universal basic income, everybody gets that amount of money, and then whatever their income is they get on top of that, or is there a point when you come off of that? Like at some point you're not no longer getting that. So you're saying like a millionaire is going to be getting the universal basic income from the government?
Yes, and for a millionaire, I think they'd probably lose more in tax than they'd make from the universal basic income. So in a way, that kind of evens out.
It'd be interesting. I'm not sure how I feel about that. I definitely think they're. I've been there, I've been where was making less than $10 an hour and had a kid and a family, and it's not easy. It's definitely not easy.
Yeah.
But it definitely motivated me to go back to school, get my degree, and better myself. And I guess my only concern is that motivation will be removed if you can just graduate high school and get a universal basic income and not have to work. I think it just feels dangerous to me, I guess. I'm not sure if people really will. I'm not sure if human nature really will make the majority of people not work, because I think most people actually do have ambition and want to do something with their life.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see, but there are some factors which, well, there's been some studies done which suggest that it's likely that people will actually be more motivated to do something with their life. And I can see in some cases where that would actually probably be the case.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's hard. It's hard for me. It's hard for me to really. I'm kind of in the middle somewhere, because I can tell you right now, if I'd have had universal basic income whenever I was going back to school, I probably would have stayed in school. I probably would have stayed in school, got my master's, my PhD, and because I really enjoyed school, to be honest. But I couldn't do that because I had to make money. I had to support my family,
And I think the best way to roll it out would be to start small. So, and when I say start small to people think, just give it to a small amount of people. That doesn't work. I'm like, no, start with something like $50. Everyone gets $50, and then see how that works. If things start improving, then you can start raising it until it's at a comfortable amount. I think that would be the best way to go about it.
Yeah. Interesting. It's an interesting idea. But here's something that's kind of conflicting with me, I guess. And me and you had a personal conversation. I would say that you're mostly a libertarian. Would you agree with that?
I'd be a left-leaning libertarian. And I probably have a slightly different, when it comes to libertarian, I probably have a slightly different way of thinking about it than other people. So,
yeah, and I would say I'm more of a centrist libertarian. It's kind of hard. I mean, as a libertarian, you almost kind of looked at badly from both sides, because you are a centrist. In general, libertarians are, and I think you were talking about you think that there are some taxes that are required. I agree with you. I agree with you on that. But it seems like a universal basic income is a very like left-wing, more liberal idea than a libertarian idea, because you would have to require some type of tax to pay for that.
So, but in saying that, I'm just going to go quickly get my sheet of 30 basic human rights real quick.
No worries.
So when it comes to these 30 rights, these are the things that I think every human should have access to, and that's like the first three are right to equality, freedom from discrimination, right to life, liberty, personal security. Those are just
So your 30 basic rights?
yeah. So the first three, you've got right to equality, freedom from discrimination, and right to life, liberty, personal security. Some of these are pretty obvious. Like the fourth one, we've managed to do pretty well in actually, and that's freedom from slavery. Most people aren't slaves, at least, or depending on what you think is slaves. But I don't really think that getting a job is really considered slavery, although there are people that do consider it slavery.
Yeah, but in the classic sense, we're talking about
Yeah.
ownership of another person. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's most people avoid that, correct? Yeah.
And so when you go down, there's things like right to social security, right to desirable work and to join trade unions, and right to rest and leisure. And I think that when there are people, like certain people in poverty, can't get some of these rights, especially when it comes to right to adequate living standard. And so especially when it comes to redistribution of wealth, if you don't have enough money to pay for a good living standard, then effectively you do not have that right unless your living standard is supplied by someone that wants to give you that right.
Well, let me ask you about that. So in the U.S., right, people are considered below the poverty level, even if they own a microwave and a TV and a car, and they have a roof. They live in a trailer, sure, but there's plenty of people that live in trailers comfortably, and not even poor people, like people that actually make good money live in trailers. So when you're talking about a right to a certain lifestyle, like where is that limit? Like what are we talking about? And who are those people that aren't getting that?
That is actually really difficult to say because I mean this is just a basic sort of rundown. So it's not very well defined, and so yeah, it is very difficult to say. But I'd say if you, because some people do have health problems because of the amount that they work. At that point, if they have a lot of problems with health and stuff, and they're trying to provide for a family or something like that, then I'd say that they probably, then it's kind of, I'm just trying to work out a good way to word it. Then I'd say that in a way their rights are being infringed on, but also not really, if you get what I mean. At that point,
Yeah,
I think
it's hard to define. Yeah, that makes sense.
especially when it comes to the right to rest and leisure. Like I have been through some grueling times because of studying course, but I still got, at the end of the day, I still had a right to rest and leisure. It was just not in my best interests to exercise that right.
So you said there were 30. What other ones are on there?
Let's go back to number 5. Freedom from torture and degrading treatment, right to recognition as a person before the law, right to equality before the law, right to remedy by competent tribunal, freedom from arbitrary arrest and exile, right to fair public hearing, right to be considered innocent till proven guilty, freedom from interference with privacy, family, home, and correspondence. And I think that's actually that one is probably one which I think all libertarians and even some people who that aren't libertarian can really get on board with, especially with how things are going today.
I don't have anything against any of those rights.
Might
have to define what some of them mean, but like maybe a little bit more quantitative, versus qualitative.
Yeah. I think the problem here is that this is just a really basic description. It's on one page, and if you were to...
Yeah, right.
Because I think there's a proper document which actually goes ahead and lists out what each of them properly mean.
Right.
So...
Well, I think that stuff's interesting, to be honest. I don't really get into politics or religion for that matter, because a lot of the things that people decide are right or wrong come down to someone's opinion or faith or belief. And it's belief about things that can't be demonstrably proven false type thing. And really, at that point, what are you arguing other than just your subjective feelings about it? So.
And that is one of the reasons why, when it comes to the whole SJW, anti-SJW, I feel like it's quite... you've got to be on one side of the argument. Whereas, and that's what I like about the whole flat earth thing, is that because you're arguing with... because it's arguing with science, there is sort of a right and there is a right and wrong.
Right.
And so if you are wrong about something, then you are wrong. And and I couldn't be a flat earther because they're wrong,
Yes, I do know.
I just would not be able to make up any excuse. Whereas I feel as though being an anti-flat earther, sometimes I'll be wrong about stuff, and when I'm wrong, I'll be able to correct myself. And I feel like a lot of people in the anti-flat earth crowd are actually more forgiving when you're wrong, especially if you go ahead and correct yourself, because it shows that you've got integrity. Whereas when it comes to the SJW, anti-SJW sort of thing, it's very easy to tick someone off that's in your circle if you don't have the same views as they do. And same with also politics as well. If you're, if there's... I try to give everyone I try and let everyone explain what they think and all that kind of stuff. But, if someone, you might be left-wing, and it might be that you might be anti-immigration or something, and you're going to have people that are in the left-wing that will say, oh, you Nazi or whatever.
Right.
It's like, no, I just think that we should focus on the problems of our own country before focusing on the problems of other countries. And so...
So do you think that there is an objective right and wrong in the sake of the SJWs? I mean, obviously, I believe there is such thing as an objective right and wrong, but do you think that they're really just arguing from both sides' opinion? And that's the problem, that they're both missing the objective aspect of it?
I think that in a way, like there are facts that back up both sides' basis. So for some of the SJWs, or people that are considered SJWs, because I honestly consider some people on the right SJWs, but when it comes to the SJWs on the left, there are facts that do back up some of the things that they're saying. Like, let's take the gender pay gap. Technically, it is a real thing, but they're approaching it in a completely wrong way. Because it is down to the jobs that females versus males choose. And I think that we should be approaching it from a different angle than, kicking males out of jobs to get females in. Of course, it would be also a good idea to try and get some females into these jobs, but it would be best to motivate them to get into
Sure.
these jobs.
Sure.
And so yeah, there's people like that which have the wrong sort of way of going about things, and often they can conflate one effect with something that they want to be true. So they if I doubt that if I'm working a job $8 an hour at Burger King or whatever, I doubt that the females are going to be working for $5 an hour, because that's just blatantly illegal.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's not really happening. I mean, that type of thing isn't happening. But yeah, I agree that. Sure, there are females in certain industries because they tend towards those industries, or they like those industries, and there are males in certain industries because they tend towards those. Might be a cultural thing, you know. It might be like if you look at IT. As a matter of fact, there's a female on my team that's probably one of the best engineers on our team. And it's because she likes it, right? I mean, she likes doing it, but for some reason, percentage-wise, there's just more males in IT. There's more males in STEM in general.
And I do think that a lot of it comes down to cultural sort of things. But at the same time, I don't think we should be legislating companies to have more females.
I agree. Yeah, I think you just need. I think it's really just a cultural education of just pure fairness and equality, which I think we all pretty much agree to. Because whenever I interview people, I don't really care where they're from, what their race is, what their gender is, or anything like that. What I care is, can they do the job? You know?
Yeah.
If they can do the job, whoever can do the job better is going to get the job. I mean, that's the way it is for me. And I think I would feel like, this is subjective, of course. I don't have any stats behind this, but I would feel like most people around me would agree with that. Like, you hire the best person for the job. Maybe not. I don't know. But I would think that at least the cultural motivation, like in my daughter's generation, for example, they don't see gender and skin color and stuff the way that, say, my great-grandfather did, you know? And not even my great-grandfather. I would say my great-grandfather's generation, because my great-grandfather was Honduran, so he would have been on the other side. He would have been on the wrong side of the, the thing, unfortunately. But anyway.
But when it comes to from a business standpoint, it does make a lot more sense to hire the best person for the job.
Absolutely.
rather than hiring someone on the basis of skin color or gender. Because if you hire someone just because they're a straight white male who does half the job that someone else could do, then that's a bad thing for your business, because that guy will produce half the work that the other person would have. You want to have the best.
At the end of the day, the owner wants to make money. That's what motivates him. Not these silly superficial cultural things. He wants to make money.
To be fair, some people for some people it might be silly cultural things, but I don't think that that's the majority. I think the majority legitimately do want the best person for the job.
Yeah, I agree with that. I've told people this before, and I'll tell you. I think I actually told you before. I'm from an area of Louisiana where 3 generations ago, or let's see, that would have been not my father, grandfather, my great-grandfather. I guess it would have been my great-grandfather's generation. I mean, that's when the Ku Klux Klan was around. And in this area, And I can tell you, as a person that lives here, a person that's not 100% white guy, I'm kind of a mutt, a Honduran heritage. It just isn't here anymore. You know, it's just it's not the way that it was a few generations ago. That type of thinking has really gone into the corners of fringe, you know, and I think for the most part, the world, especially with the internet, I mean, with the advent of the internet and with people being able to, like me and you can communicate, it's what, morning for you and night for me, and you know, it's, you know, like the ideas, good ideas can propagate a whole lot easier these days, and I think they do, and I think that like I keep going back to my daughter, but she's a really good example. My daughter is influenced by people in Korea. You know, like my daughter is a big K-pop fan right now. You know, so it's like, you know, it's completely different than it used to be. And so,
meanwhile, I just want to interject. Meanwhile, I'm influenced by people in Japan, so
yeah, I mean, it's the whole world influences each other, and I think in a very positive way. Sure, the internet is a tool that can be used for good and bad, but I think for the most part, the general population is using it for the good.
Yeah,
that's the sense that I get. I know it's subjective, but that is how I feel about it.
And I do feel like when it comes to racism, it is more of the older generations that sort of still have those beliefs,
right?
Because I've spoken to a few people that were racist, and when I speak to people that are racist, no matter whether they're white or any other skin color, I always feel uncomfortable.
Of course.
Or when they're being racist, that is.
Right.
But yeah. So I think that it's mostly these people that have kind of grown up thinking that racism was okay, and now they've kind of had to move out of the spotlight because it's no longer socially acceptable.
Exactly. I totally agree with that.
So,
okay, so on to lighter topics.
Yeah.
So we've been pretty heavy for the last 20 minutes, so let's move on to something lighter. I see that you have a couple instruments behind you.
Oh, yes.
Are you a musician?
Yes, I am a musician.
Well, play us something. Come on. Putting you on the spot. You don't like that?
What is this tune to? Okay, it's tuned to drop D, so in that case, I'll go with something like... I don't know if you can hear that very well.
I can hear it right through your pop filter.
So yeah, that's
nice.
I can play more of it, but I feel like I've played it for long enough. I'm honestly better at guitar than I am at keyboard or anything.
Yeah.
Because I can play a few things on keyboard, but I'm still learning. So
is it mostly a hobby right now, or do you like actually play some gigs on the weekends, or what's up?
So when it comes to guitar, I've actually made a decent amount of money from playing guitar.
Nice.
Mostly busking. When it comes to keyboard, however, that's something that I mostly do to make tunes, like to see how a tune is going to sound, and then I go onto a computer and put it into the computer and go, okay, this note needs to go here. What if this note goes here? And then I'll listen to it on my computer, play another tune on the keyboard, maybe change the instrument, and then put that into the computer and go, okay, this is starting to really build up. And unfortunately, this guitar isn't really good for recording, so the problem is when I'm playing notes like songs like. Let me try and think of one. It's not doing it, but right now. But sometimes I get this really annoying sound that that happens when I play certain songs. And actually, this one might be. Why does it sound weird? It's not the weird sound that I thought was going to happen. That's
maybe it's tuned to the wrong key or something.
It is tuned right. So I got a little bit of that weird sound in there.
Awesome. Remind me to introduce you to Adam, okay? So Adam is a musician in the UK who is helping out with some music here and there. Me and him chat back and forth. That's one of the great things about this whole flat Earth thing. I guess the silver lining is that I've met a lot of very interesting people from around the world. Which I would not have met otherwise.
Yeah, like I do like this sort of community that has formed, because I think there's a couple of communities that I suppose would fall under the banner of skeptic, and the sort of the anti-flat Earth community is one of those communities. And there's interesting people like Conspiracy Cats. There's Simon Dan. There's MC Tuner's even a part of it. I'm a part of it. You're a part of it. Trying to just remember who's in the Globheads chat. Creaky Blinder.
Yeah, Creaky Blinder. Red's Rhetoric. Sean. I mean, I actually kind of in the glue, I think, between two different communities, because I've obviously started interacting with MC Tunes and Simon Dan and Cats and you now, and but I also have ties to Sean Hufford and Red's Rhetoric. Miles Davis and Al K, which is, I know they're both UK, but they were like different groups as well. As a matter of fact, I introduced Miles Davis and Al K. That was a weird experience, let me tell you. Here I am in the United States introducing two guys in the UK that live like pretty close to each other,
Yeah, and I feel like Godless Engineer is the guy that ties one group to another when it comes to there's kind of the group, I'm not sure what to call them. They're sort of the new wave skeptics, I'd say, and that would be the whole genetically modified skeptic, cosmic skeptic, Professor Stick.
Right.
There's a whole lot more rationality rules, and they're kind of tied to this community by Godless Engineer in a way.
What I think would be interesting is actually hearing the differences between the different skeptics, because I have noticed that there. Right now, I think we're kind of all on the same page because we're interacting with people that are obviously a cancer to the internet, like Flat Earth and chemtrails, or, these types of obviously wrong type mentalities. But it would be interesting to hear the differences between the different skeptics because, for example, not that I would be interested in actually having this conversation, but I'm Christian. Right, and there's a lot of atheists in the skeptic community, and so that would be an interesting conversation. I think. I think the cool thing about that would make it really interesting is that we're both kind of rationally minded, right? So it would be an interesting conversation versus yelling and insulting each other, which is what's going on right now in our current endeavors, unfortunately.
Well, I honestly don't mind having conversations with Christians, and I will often make whenever I make a video that's usually saying why I don't believe in God or something. Usually, I'm not too much trying to talk about. Sometimes I might talk about the whole philosophical reasons. Let's just say. Some people say that, God was the person that created the Big Bang. I don't agree with that, but I think it's more important to deal with the creationists. And so, because those people I feel are wrong.
Right. There's a whole spectrum, right? I mean, This is where spectrums really do make sense to me. Is that you on the very I don't know if you want to call it left. I don't know. Maybe right. I don't know. On one extreme, you have the young Earth creationists, and then on the other extreme, you have the, not just atheists, but like the God denying atheists, saying there's no chance that there's a God. Those are two different extremes. Like most atheists, I would say, lean more towards agnostic ideas, which is there's no proof of a God, but they still leave it open that there could be a potential for a God, but they don't think it is.
Yeah, and that's actually exactly where I fall. There is always the possibility of a God, but I just don't think that there is a God, mostly because I have not seen any evidence of how a God could exist, and it doesn't make sense to me with this universe. And so that's exactly where I fall. But a God could exist. I don't know. I'm
right.
A lot of people,
you just haven't seen the evidence for it.
Yeah.
And see, I think that's a rational and a reasonable position to hold. And that's where I think things get interesting, because I'm an old Earth creationist, so I think God did have moments of special creation, but it's 100% faith. I also don't have any evidence for that. I just believe it's likely.
It's like I believe I have beliefs which I entertain because I'd like them to be true, but I don't. The rational side of me doesn't think that they are true, and that's like the idea of an afterlife. I want there to be an afterlife. Right. There probably isn't an afterlife, but I can hope for it. And I'm not going to tell everyone there's definitely an afterlife, and you got to do this, this, and this to get to it.
Right. That's why That's why I'd like to see debates between, I guess more rationally minded skeptics. I mean, really skeptics.
Yeah.
I'd like to see debates between two skeptics that have different opinions. And I think like a forum like the Non Sequitur would be a good place to do something like that. I've kind of gotten to the point where it's like, do we really need to see another debate between a skeptic and a flat earther? Because the only reason why we would do that is because we just want another entertaining night, another rum and coke night, basically. Because
another dumpster fire.
Because they don't have any rationale behind what they believe. So it's, how can you expect them to even entertain actual debate, and following rational rules? It's kind of irrational of us to expect that of them, so to speak. And maybe we don't. I don't know. Maybe that's why they bring them on the Non Sequitur. I don't know. But I think it would be really interesting to have like a debate between, say, like an Aaron Raw versus like an old Earth creationist type skeptic.
Yeah, because when I refer to creationism, I probably make the mistake of thinking about creationism as young Earth creationism.
Yeah, I do too. I do the same thing. Whenever I say creationist, I mean young Earth creationist, even though I'm an old Earth creationist, which is they're different, but I guess that's the popular terminology for young Earth creationist. Just generically calling.
But I think. So yeah, I think that also another debate that I did like watching between people that were atheists was and the other was a belief that Jesus was an actual person. And that was definitely an interesting debate because it was two people that were arguing for something using logical arguments, not trying to, not arguing something because they want to believe in it or something like that, which you get a lot of time with with people that believe in conspiracies and sometimes with people that believe in religion. Instead, you had people trying to argue the facts of something,
Right.
which was definitely interesting.
I think it's interesting. That's probably the most interesting arguments, I think. Whenever people are on both sides of an issue, arguing from factual, reasoning, and actually trying to understand, like, okay, if they can't both be right, where is the flaw? Like where there has to be a flaw somewhere, right? If they can't both be right, or maybe there's a flaw on both sides.
And that's why seeing the recent sort of debate, I'm not sure if I should call it a debate because it's more of a discussion, I think, around morality with rationality rules and cosmic skeptic. And they were arguing, is morality objective or subjective? And it was very interesting because they were laying out good points about it. And I'm a person that believes morality is subjective, but, they were both making a really good case.
Well, yeah, I'm definitely a morality is objective. I'm definitely on that side. However, I don't believe in gray and white. I don't believe in grays. I believe there's black and white as far as truth goes. But I believe that our understanding of morality is gray, because we for some reason we are missing clarity on morality, because there are some things that we just don't have really good answers to, like,
yeah,
do you pull a lever and knowingly kill one person to save 5 people type thing? Like, what is the moral high ground there? Like, what is the actual correct thing to do? Like, let nature run its course, kill 5 people, or pull this lever, kill this person for sure and save 5 people. It's one of those types of things where we don't have a very clear understanding of what is exactly right and wrong. But I think there are certain occasions where everybody knows something is wrong. Like, I would say that most people would agree that murder, which cold-blooded murder, not killing someone in self-defense or war or anything like that, but cold-blooded murder, this person hurt my feelings, I'm going to go kill them. I think every single person would agree that that is wrong. Even people that actually commit that crime, would agree eventually that that is wrong. And so that, I think, to me is where
I think that there is. I think that there's a certain point at like, some people will justify when they've done wrong things. Like, I don't think people go out trying to be the villain a lot of the times, but then there's cases where there's people that will go, yeah, I know I did something that's wrong, and it's like, and for me, it's like, why did you do that? If you did something that's wrong, why would you do that? And sometimes they may justify it by going, oh, this person made me, or this person had it coming, or right. But I think that sometimes in retrospect you can go, well, actually, I was the bad guy in that situation. But when you're going into a situation, you never really think of yourself as the bad guy.
Right.
So it's a very interesting sort of thing to talk about. And yeah, there's some things where there are certain cases where you may think of, it's how you think about it in a way, I suppose. So when it comes to morality, if you are thinking about it in one way, you'll probably have a certain opinion on it. Whereas if you think about it in another way, you might have a different opinion on it.
Like vegans versus meat eaters.
Yeah,
that's a good one, actually. That's actually a really good one. Because I love steak. But I kind of understand where vegans are coming from. But I love steak; it tastes delicious.
you know, I like bacon. Bacon is probably my favorite.
Yes.
And, you know, I I would like to see lab-grown bacon be a thing, because then I'd be able to eat bacon and take the moral high ground. I'd be able to have my cake and eat it too.
Bacon that grows off of trees. Is that what you're going for here? Okay, so it's pretty close. We're right at about an hour. I think we can start trying to wrap it up. But what's your next major project? That's what I want to know about. What's Planarwalk's next major project?
My major project. To find that out, I'd have to. The next. I don't know if this video will have released by the time this interview comes out, but if I go to YouTube and.
Well, the interview is coming out Monday, so.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I'll have my video released by that time. I'm just waiting for Firefox to load up my channel so that I know. Because I think that my sort of, in a way, my next major project will be my 2,000 subscriber special. And that will be, that'll likely be a game of Cards Against Humanity. And I suppose you'd be welcome to join if you want.
Hey, if I'm available, I'll be there.
Yeah. Apart from that,
I actually find it a little bit humorous that you say that, because I seem to recall that at your 1,000 subscriber video, you're like, wait, what? You all of a sudden had 1,700 subscribers or something like that.
Yeah, that's yeah. It was about 2 videos ago that I released that, because I wanted to. So that I could get Godless Engineer to read out some comments in that video, I just wanted to release a few videos before that video came out. And and then there was, I didn't want to have Flat Earth Noose, and I got the t-shirt for that now.
Yes,
so
nice.
I didn't want that to be late, and then I had to do a correction on that, so that further delayed that video. And so yeah, it took a long time, and one of the Flat Earth News videos just exploded in popularity compared to what I normally get, so that's also a big case of why it was 1,700.
You are much more patient than I am, I can tell you that, because the way I operate is I kind of do things on a whim, and I wish I was more patient when it comes to videos, because if I can't produce a video in about 4 hours, I lose track. I'm on to the next thing.
I sometimes have that sort of problem too. Like, there's a video that I've been meaning to produce, but you know, I've kind of been putting it off a little bit, and I honestly should have produced it last night, but The Punisher Season 2 came out.
Really? Oh man, I gotta go check that out.
Yeah, and so I'll probably actually release it a day after I normally would have released it, but I'm probably going to reach 2,000 subscribers soon, so I'll probably be able to go, okay, well, this is a stream, and streams take a lot less processing. Right. I don't have to go ahead and edit every bit of the stream unless I really wanted to.
Right.
And then after that, one project that I am actually thinking of doing, but I need money for this. And so if I either make $200 through super chats, because I might get monetized soon. I don't know.
Well, by 1,000 subs, you should have been, right? Or do you not have enough views yet, or what?
I've got enough watch time, but it's just under review.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah, that'll happen quick.
So if I get $200 through super chats by April, then this is a go. If I get $100, or if I reach $100 on Patreon by April, then this is.
So what's your project? What is it?
My project is going to Auckland for the Flat Earth New Zealand conference.
Nice.
The New Zealand Flat Earth Conference.
Nice.
And exhibition. So I'll probably go around with someone filming it on a phone and be like, and I'll wear this top as well.
And all you need is $200. That's it.
Yeah, $200.
Well, we'll make that happen. Don't worry. I bet we'll get it. Look, everybody that's in the chat right now, get this guy $200. All right, we're gonna get this guy $200. Go to his channel. By the time this comes out, he'll be monetized. Go give him $200 worth of super chats. This is gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
Yeah. I'm probably also gonna have a monetization special, which there's one person that I want to bring along because I know someone that hasn't really been introduced to the idea of flat Earth, and I made videos with him before I got into all this flat Earth stuff. And I kind of just want to bring him along and just like do a live debunking of one of the popular flat Earth videos, and just to watch his face as he loses faith in humanity.
Oh,
I know it's a bit cruel, but it'll be entertaining. But
Absolutely.
at the current point in time, it's probably just going to be reviewing a few flat Earth memes and probably a live debunk video as well, where I just get people to send me a video and go, okay, I'm going to debunk this video live on stream.
Nice. I like it.
Yeah. So that's probably the plans for what's coming up.
Sweet. All right. Well, look, I really appreciate you jumping in here with me and giving me an interview. And I wish you well with your channel. I'll be following along, of course. Hopefully, you've got a few more subs from this. I know we probably have a lot of similar subs, so I'm not sure how many more there will be, but hopefully you'll get a couple more out of it. And hey, I mean, maybe I'll get a couple more out of it.
Yeah, I'll definitely give you a shout out on the community tab. But I just want to know, is Mark Sargent subscribed to you?
I have no idea. I mean, he left a message. He left his standard copy-paste message on one of my videos. I don't know if he's subscribed to me, though. I have no idea. I'd have to go look.
Okay, because
I've never even thought to look at it.
Yeah, Mark Sargent has subscribed to me, and
well, congratulations. There you go.
Unfortunately, he just leaves his copy-paste messages, so I can't really...
He does that every time. He leaves a copy-paste, and then he never responds.
Yeah. Which is unfortunate, to be honest.
Well, Planarwalk, thank you, man. Appreciate you coming, and everybody in the chat. We're going to be premiering this, so we'll probably be in the chat, chit-chatting back and forth with you. And thanks for coming. We really appreciate it. And we need to get Planarwalk $200 so he can go to the Flat Earth Conference. And I'm going to send him another $100 to print out like a bunch of posters of my my material and just hang it off his shoulders while he's walking around.
That would actually be a good way. It'd be like, have you heard of
just set up a booth and start handing out pictures? Yeah, that'd be great. All right, man. Thanks for coming. Really appreciate it. And thanks everybody for coming by. And that's it. See you guys later.
Is it over?
Pretty much.
Okay.